Hello, everybody. Really happy that you're here today listening to this. I hope you find it enjoyable, maybe a little bit interesting. I do want you to take a minute here at the very beginning, go down to the bottom of the page there, follow, subscribe, whatever it is you got to do. Let me know that you're actually spending a little time with this and that you find it interesting. If you have a chance to give me a comment or a note, I'd greatly appreciate to hear what you think of what I'm doing, whether or not I'm wasting my time and yours, because I really don't want to waste your time. Actually, in all honesty, I'm wasting my own time more than I'm wasting yours because you can always click off and I got to talk for another 5, 10 minutes. So, anyway, here we go. We're going to talk. And the topic today is, why do people come visit you, talk to you, listen to you, and never ask you about you? The only thing they want to do is really talk about them. Just pick them apart, sit there and say, wow, have you seen all the things that I have done? You've seen all the things my kids have done, my grandkids have done, my dog has done, my horse has done, my car. My gosh, have you looked at my car lately? It is the most wonderful thing you've ever seen. Everything in the world except for the fact of, oh, by the way, you got that big old crutch that you're using. Do you have a physical problem, anything going on in your life that you might want to share? Never, well, not never, obviously, but frequently when you visit people, that's what you get. Now, I just had a very pleasant weekend visiting old friends. And one thing that we did is we really caught up with each other. We talked about their family, they talked about our family, we asked questions back and forth. We got a good grounding of where we are in our lives and what's going on and what's not going on. It was a very pleasant weekend. And so as we drove away, as they drove away, we drove away, it really did come down to, that was fun. Let's do that again. We had other times when you go into a house and you sit there and you spend a couple hours in the evening or, God forbid, a weekend. But at the end of the time, you walk out and you feel unfulfilled. You feel frustrated. And why is that? I mean, that is pretty much a universal complaint that people have about other people, is that they don't ask about each other. So why is that? It doesn't make any sense. If it's a universal complaint, then that means that nearly everybody is feeling that. And that is just a universal flaw that exists in all of us. Now, I have to say, it exists in some of us more than others. And there are people that when you sit there and you call them up on the phone or you talk to them in person, and it's kind of like pulling a string on the back. Remember that doll that you used to have when you were a kid? You pulled a string on the back and it would sit there and it would say 5 or 10 words back at you. And you'd sit there, well, giggle and then do it again and again and again until the string broke, of course. But that's what happens with these people. It's like pulling a string on their back. And then everything that they know about themselves comes out. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is just so pent up. Now, in my opinion, we all know how important my opinion is, right? It's not. But in my opinion, it seems to me that the more a person is alone, the more it's likely that they're going to dominate the discussion when they do get a chance to talk to someone, because they have not had that interplay with people. And the more, when you take a look at that and you say, okay, well, why is a person alone? Well, one of the reasons why is because they're sick. And when a person gets sick, if you think of a person being well and their world is so wide. Now, I'll try to do it in the camera here. So wide. But as you get sick, the world gets smaller and smaller until pretty soon the world consists of you and your caretaker and no one else. And so anytime that anybody comes in and you start talking to them, you, in all honesty, you are very concerned about yourself because you're sick. And as you do that, the fact of the matter is that what you have to talk about is a very very small piece of any type of information that the other person wants to talk about. I don't feel good. Here's my 5 symptoms. Here are the things that's going to happen to me. Here's my prognosis. Okay, how about you? How are you doing? Why are you here talking to me? This is wonderful that you're here talking to me, but you didn't come just to hear me talk. I want to know what happens with you. That is one of those things that you have. Or you do have somebody who might be isolated, geographically isolated, or they choose to be isolated. There's a lot of people in this world, particularly since the pandemic that we had here a couple years ago, who are choosing to stay in their own little bubble, and they stay right there, and they don't really want to get out. They learned a couple years ago that they can survive very nicely in this little bubble that they have created, so they stay there. They may see one or two people, they may see a few people, but for the most part, they're right there. They're in their house. Excuse me. So you have a person who is just isolated, choosing to be isolated. Then you have a person who doesn't necessarily choose to be isolated, but they're clinically depressed. And this causes them to have questions about their self-worth and their self-esteem. And they're just unhappy. They're going down this rabbit hole, and they just need to get lifted up. Easier said than done. Real challenge. And then you just have a person who is introverted or shy. And of course, you also have the ones who have a real honest medical reason. There's a lot of people today on the autistic spectrum who they are isolated, not because they want to be necessarily, but because that's just the way they process things. So you have all these reasons why a person might be isolated, might be do that. Now, if a person is isolated, what does that give them an excuse for? Not a whole lot, but it does make a person understand a little bit about why, if you talk to them, they go, yesterday I had trouble with the phone company. Now let me give you a 30-minute dissertation on why I had trouble with the phone company and how I had to sit on hold for 20 minutes and I had to talk to this person who wasn't even a person. I had to answer representative. I want to talk to a representative. I don't want to talk to a machine. On and on. How is this possible that this stuff goes on? But it does. It's just, why is it that when a person starts talking, they can't ask the other person about what's going on in their life? Well, I got to tell you, I don't have, other than what I've said, I don't have any really good answers for that. But I will tell you that if you're a person that when you get done with the conversation and you think back to what was said in that conversation and you don't remember a few points about what the other person said about their kids, about their dog, about their illnesses, about their life, then you are guilty of being this person who just sits there and doesn't ask anybody else about what's happening in their life. So frustrating. So that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, again, I'm GW. Mark down below, subscribe, follow, send me a question, give me a suggestion about what I might talk about. We'll see what my train of consciousness might come up with, and we'll have a good time. But I do enjoy this. So please let me know how I'm doing. Thank you all, and have a good week.